All these cars come out of Formula One at the end of their life and they just sit on a shelf, they don't get used. And the technology prohibits most people from being able to get around them, and people don't get to see cars like this up close at all. And we were sort of keen to try and change that. And we can start turning them into something that has that sort of second life again. It seems criminal that they do 24 races and no longer used. It's the engineering and the time that the teams put in, it's only fair that they get run again for years and years to come. Ultimately, it's an engineering excellence business. With the three departments, with TDF1, TDF Works, TDF Precision, they're all based under our umbrella. And the idea is to bring all those departments together to prolong the history of our sport, both through running cars in an original guise and restoring and rebuilding them, but also building new products like the TDF1 that allow access to keep these cars running and working in a way that they wouldn't have been able to in the past. For all of us, we're passionate about it, and just being able to share that passion is something that you can't really do with a lot of these products. So that's what we're sort of trying to achieve as a business. They're all ex-Formula One staff. We've all worked at the highest level within the sport.
They are awesome machines. When the lights go out, the race will be on. A giant leap into the unknown begins. No!
The latest build we've had has been like a 2-year project now, which is one of our TDF ones. The whole process about building these cars is bespoke to the owner, and so from the moment we get in touch with them or they get in touch with us, it's all about incorporating them as part of our team and part of that journey and the authentic F1 kind of spin on things. We're a small team and it's important they're part of the team with us and that we can start building this sort of one-off unique art piece, but also something that's going to get used hard, and the understanding about driver fitness or simulators and all that other stuff that we do slightly further down the line. But just starting to get that roadmap in front and build that excitement ready for what the next sort of 12 months of build or 18 months, depending on their spec, might look like. You can come and choose the chassis and start talking to us about sort of visions and ideas and how you see that dream like playing out in front of you.
We are essentially trying to do what a whole Formula One team did back in the day, but we're doing it with 6 or 7 of us. So in my experience being in a team, you end up being pigeonholed into doing one job that you do very well, whereas in this environment, small team, you all just have to muck in. You wear many different hats and you just do what it takes to get these cars built and get them back on track.
F1 teams are hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. They are limited on race weekends as to how many they can have there, but there are a lot of people back at home that are still actively working during the race weekend from back at their bases.
The cars seem quite daunting. They are a quite out of this world experience, I guess. We can dial the car down in terms of setup to make it user friendly, so we can soften the car up, we make sure it's got lots of downforce on, but just to allow you to build that confidence. And the more confidence you build, the more time on circuit you get, then we can start turning the toys up and start really turning the car on. You almost get so many different cars in one. You know, when you go from 450 to 600, it's like a completely different beast. Running up circuit, you know, a TDF1, you can realistically do it with one person, but we would normally have 2 or 3 on site for us. An original car that's running on hydraulics and lots of other complicated systems with complicated materials that we remove, that allows us to bring that operating cost down. So rather than spending money on having 10 people stood around the car all day, You've got 2 or 3 people and you can spend your money on as many sets of tyres and fuel and circuits and transport to get it to fly it to exotic places rather than just feeling like you're hemmed into one little area. And the works program is the same, they're just a little bit more complicated and they tend to be a little bit more problematic, but they do make a good noise. TDF Works for us is like the heritage side of the business where we look after a lot of original cars, a lot of unusual projects for people, both in Formula One, but also in that side of the business, it allows us to look at LMP cars, GT cars, rally cars, all sorts of other things. So this is the 999 BAR that we've been building for the last 2 years or so now. This car specifically it's been in a private collection. The owner didn't really know that you could do anything with it. This one is in the original paint scheme. We tried to maintain as much authenticity as possible, and it separates it from some of the other programs that we do. It's been a long process, but this is it finally going back together. So we shut down a few weeks ago, been stripped, everything's been checked. It's now been painted. Now it's in like final assembly before it goes off to Australia for the end of the year. This has been painted with all the original paint masks, actually by a couple of the original painters that painted this back in 1999. And it means it is completely period correct, both in terms of stickers and in the paint. That's taken a little while to get sorted, but that's probably the biggest thing with this car that makes it, you know, very unusual to most other builds. There are a lot of paint shops out there that paint cars, but this one has got that heritage to be exactly as it was in the day.
Me and James have actually got a list of every F1 car that we've done any significant work on, and we're into hundreds of F1 cars. And there's a lot of people out there that will struggle to see one real F1 car, let alone have built hundreds of them. People working in current F1, they may have been at a team for years and years. They've only ever built, say, a Williams and another Williams for each year. They don't necessarily get to get a close look at the other team's cars. Whereas here we get all kinds of different cars in from different teams, sometimes from the same year, so you can almost see how one team interpreted those regulations versus the other team. A lot of the cars come in with nothing in them, so we have to almost imagine what was there and what it did and come up with a solution, because we can't just go down the road and buy these parts. Trying to imagine what was in there versus the guy that designed it and thought about how it all worked and worked it all out, essentially trying to think about how their brain was working when they designed it and what it should be doing and making sense of it is a big challenge. You still want it to look as it did, as well as not messing up the aerodynamics and all that crucial stuff. And the biggest challenge is finding things that are going to fit, and there's always an option. It's just picking the best option.
Precision is our engineering department. We do everything in there from scanning, CAD design, all our machine work, and we do a lot of work there for our own support, but also for external clients.
When we receive a car that's missing a lot of parts, if we know the car already, we know what the part should be like. We might have a sister car, or we might know someone in our network. Very occasionally we'll have an engineering drawing of the original part, which makes it really easy, but that's quite rare. So we're normally just kind of working off our own experience and own knowledge.
We've all worked in F1. I was at Mercedes and was responsible for what we call engine kitting, which is engine fitment. When I used to look after radiators and brakes as well. Dean, who's our head of car build, he was a similar role for me, but with Marussia. They had slightly less budget, so his role was different in terms of the amount of things he had to do, but the outcome at a racetrack was the same. Simon, he's come from Alpine, so he has a really strong background in manufacturing all of their components and the processes and everything that they have in place to make sure that everything that hits the car is perfect. And we implement all of that straight into what we do. So between like that core senior group, it allows us to like impart our knowledge into the other guys in the team who all come with various experience from either motorsport or automotive, product design, machining. You know, Alex, Brandon, Joe, they're all experienced in slightly different areas, but what it does is kind of complete all the areas in the team that maybe areas that we might lack from having been in motorsport forever. They have a slightly different opinion, so it makes it nice and rounded as a core group.
In F1, parts are designed, they get given to you, you fit them. But here we have to almost design the part itself and then bring that to fruition.
to be able to have done this and do what we're doing now is I just don't think I'd have ever really thought about it. F1 always seems quite unachievable when actually as an industry, once you get in, it is achievable for everybody if you work hard, and it's a really good industry for if you do well and work hard and do the job well. It doesn't matter like who you are, where you're from, or what you do. It's all about like that common goal. Being part of that was like amazing, and being able to do this is yeah, probably further than I could have ever thought of, I guess.
There's a lot of hours in these cars, a lot of work. It's a big team effort. Although we're much smaller than an F1 team, to see our small departments all come together to produce something of that calibre is quite a proud moment.
Coming here and having more involvement directly with the projects and being able to see a car come back to life and getting out on track, that's always really, really rewarding.
All our owners have got completely different stories, which is amazing. They've all got a passion for motorsport and for cars. Some of them it's about fulfilling like a childhood dream. Others are already doing motorsport and it's just a pinnacle toy for them. Certainly for tool drivers, we're very accommodating because we manufacture everything to suit. And others are just adrenaline junkies that want to drive fast things, and they're the fastest things you can drive. So once they find out you can get hold of one and do crazy things with it, they then just want to go and do crazier things. They then get to now create this one-off piece for them that they get to make their own history with, that writes alongside that of it being raced, you know, alongside all the greats around all the great circuits in the world. They've now got their own little piece of history moving forward that makes that car even more special. F1's evolving every year, like new cars, new technology, and we're kind of chasing that. So we are exploiting those new technologies, working with companies that are still right at the pinnacle, of which we class ourselves as well. Worked on cars in the 50s, and then we've gone all the way through V10s, V8s, V6s. You know, there's so many things that keep progressing, it's just never ending, and that sort of strive to be as close to the top of that as possible is like, it's a real drive. I think for everybody wants to be as close to that pinnacle as we can. When you get strapped in, you become one with the car. You need that perfectly molded seat and everything to be fitted to you in just the right way. And then you are like one with the car. Everything it does, every vibration, movement, everything. You feel everything. No regs, no sponsors, no FIA, nobody can govern that. We still run to certain things with safety that are the same as they were, but literally everything else we can go mad with.
I love it. Thank you so much. Great job. Great job, guys.
I've been passionate about it forever and been fortunate enough to drive and race and be around it and learn all this world that I sort of, you looked at on the TV, always wanted to be a part of.
That thing is insane. It's unbelievable.
So part of TDF, and what we want to do is give that back. So we've got those stories to give back, and experience and knowledge. Everything is all pieced back together to be the same, that same process, but without there being 1,000 people here and the big budgets and the pressure of going racing all the time. We can go to cool racetracks and hang out in the sunshine and just have fun with cars.